Hey guys, in the last vlog I was looking at some of the greenhouse that survived a bit of cold bite, but today I want to talk about some of the crops that I'm going to look at to see how far we can get into winter. So there's some crops that are guaranteed to make it through a really cold part of the winter, and there's some crops that won't make it past -10°C. So I'm going to take a look under some of these tunnels, analyze what we've got, and I'm going to head over to one of the other plots and see how our carrot production is doing there, kind of do a little analysis to see what we've got in the field and how far it might take us. Alright, let's take a look under this poly tunnel here, poly low tunnel here. Move our clips and our row bags, just pop it up. I'm pretty sure this is arugula and red Russian kale, yeah. Okay, so this is pretty cool actually. We've got a good crop of arugula in here that we could harvest, and we've got a red Russian kale bed that looks like it's good for a second cut. These are two crops that wouldn't make it past -10. So our objective here is keep looking at the forecast and make sure that these get cropped out before we see another extreme dip in temperature. Mind you, these two did survive the snow, so you know, there's a chance that they could survive another one, but the issue is if it stays cold, you can't harvest these. Arugula and the baby kale just don't stand very well if it's cold. Like for example, in a greenhouse, it could be -10°C outside, but on a warm day, it would be, you know, above zero, above freezing in there. But with the poly low tunnels, they have a less volume of air in them, and they're not as warm, basically. So if it's cold outside, harvesting these isn't really getting me any good. It's just like with spinach, if it gets kind of limp down, it's still alive and it will bounce back in if it's warm, but that's when you have to harvest it. You can't really harvest this stuff if it's well below freezing. It just doesn't work. So needless to say, the plan here is we need to harvest this before it gets cold again, because chances are when it gets cold again, it's going to be here to stay for the winter. Okay, this is interesting. We've got a bed of spinach that's been cut once already, and it's coming back for a second cut. And then we've got some Salanova under there, which has been, it was from the summer, it's been cut probably 3 times already, but it's been severely damaged. And you can see how it's really browned out, and it's an example of how the low tunnel isn't nearly as cold resistant as a high tunnel or any other form of greenhouse. Even caterpillar tunnels are more resilient. The main reason for that I see is that there's a bigger volume of air in a greenhouse or a high tunnel, so that there's less extreme fluctuations in temperature, because the distance from where the cold is hitting the surface is further from where it goes to the crop. So in low tunnels, if you want to get anything into the winter, get far into winter, the only thing you can really put on here that you can rely on is, in my experience, spinach or maybe a green kale. Anything else in my climate, at least with the crops that I grow, won't get you past really hard freezing days. Okay, so the rest of these 3 tunnels are all spinach planted around the same time, so I'm just going to check on the one, save myself the work. Okay, so these ones have been this is all second cut now, or they've been cut once and now they're regrowing. So spinach is easy. I can carry this all winter. The challenge is going to be, if we get another big snowfall, how well these tunnels hold up. So what I'll probably do is prioritize the tunnel between these so that I can crop them out and take the tunnel off, so that when the snow comes, it's not going to get stuck between the 2 tunnels, because when you have 2 low tunnels right up next to each other, the snow just builds up and then collapses the side, and then you end up losing a bit of both beds. So it's sort of just cutting your losses and losing a little bit less. Hey! That was Roger and Alen that just walked by as I was talking to you guys. Anyways, things look good here. So in summary, we're gonna crop out these arugula and red Russian beds relatively soon, though the forecast does look good for the next 2 weeks. So I could ride it out too if we wanted to, but you know, we're good for spinach. And what I'll do is just crop out that tunnel in between the two. Just make sure to crop that out and pull that tunnel down before the next big snowfall comes along. That way all of these tunnels have a gap between them that the snow will shed over and not build up and push in and wreck the beds. So let's go and check on the other plot and see how our carrots are doing. Okay, we got a good amount of crop in here. Mark just cropped out one of these 50-foot beds of carrots. We've got 200 pounds per bed these days. That's with the tops removed, and that is sort of a medium to large size carrot, so that's a great yield. You know, that compost trick that I talked about in the summer was like perfect. That's exactly what did it for us. So we got another bed of red Russian kale. This was cut not too long ago. It's unlikely that, well, I was gonna say it's unlikely we get another cut, but then I thought, I looked at the forecast and this looking like 2 weeks of weather like this still, so it's a chance we may get another cut from that. Red Russian does do well in these kinds of temperatures. Can't handle the really low drops, but it kind of thrives in cool fall and early spring type weather. Got another bed of carrots here. Nice bed of spinach here that hasn't been harvested yet, so good amount of production left in this tunnel. So this tunnel looks good too. Nothing has been harvested here yet. Got a bed of spinach that's overwintered. That won't be ready to cut until March or maybe mid-February. And 3 beds of carrots. So that's another 600 pounds of carrots right there, plus what's in that tunnel. That's a good amount of carrots to get us through the winter. So basically where it's at is this. The spinach and the carrots can take me all through the winter. They can take us past Christmas. But the red Russian kale, arugula, and lettuces might get us up to Christmas if the weather stays moderate. But once we go into deep winter and we're experiencing -10, -15, maybe sometimes -20 Celsius, those crops are done. The carrots, when they're in the ground, they'll survive the winter just fine. Spinach is the same thing. So, you know, basically we keep an eye on the weather, and if we see the trend where it's starting to get cold, then we'll make sure we get all those cold sensitive crops, or more cold sensitive crops, done and out of the ground. And then we're gonna ride these out. You know, the nice thing for us on our farm is we've got year-round microgreen production. So even with just the spinach and the carrots, that's 2 products in the field there. We've got the sunflower shoots, pea shoots, and our rainbow mix. So we've got 5 products altogether that we can pretty much do year-round. Now, we can't really harvest the carrots when the ground is frozen, but that's why we don't irrigate in the winter. Well, nobody irrigates in the winter, but the idea is you want to keep the soil dry. That way it's less likely to freeze, at least as quickly, and we can come out and fork out carrots even at times when there's snow on the ground. And I've done videos on that before if you don't believe me. So hope you guys found it helpful. We'll talk to you later.